Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to the Brain Vomit podcast. I'm your host, Camille Moody, and today we're going to be getting into a fun topic, and that is ghosting. The idea of ghosting, what ghosting is. I've informally interviewed a few different friends on their opinions, and we're going to get into those today. I've never had outside opinions in my episodes, so this should be super duper fun. I am joined by a glass of pink lemonade today. So delish. So excited. Alrighty, guys. So, first, I just want to say, this has nothing to do with the episode. I got CPR certified yesterday. Slay. So, y'all ever need your life to be saved, and I just so happen to be around, just know that you're in good hands. I just wanted to flex that. I have not done CPR training in about 4 years. So that was so slay. It feels so cool. Finals week is this week. I'm basically finished, y'all. I have one presentation on Friday and then I'm done. So if you're watching this on the day it's posted, that means yesterday I had my last final and it went good. I'm going to speak it into existence. It went good and I maintained my A in the class. So slay. So let's just hop into it. What is ghosting? Today I'm going to be using resources from Psychology Today. Some people can argue that that's not a reliable source. There's not much official, peer-reviewed research on ghosting because I feel like it is such a newer concept. Psychology Today was the only one that had a lot of information on it, so that's why I feel so comfortable using it for today. But yeah, let's just jump in. So, ghosting is abruptly ending communication with somebody without explanation. The concept most often refers to romantic relationships, but can also describe disappearances from friendships and the workplace. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have a phone and if you have social media, you probably know what ghosting is. My own, experiences with ghosting is I am not one to ghost people. I have gotten ghosted before though. I think on a couple of different occasions. And it's not fun. I know I'm a very sensitive person, so I had a lot of questions on why though? And why could you have not just told me instead of just falling off the face of the earth? You know what I mean? Psychology Today also says people respond to being ghosted in many different ways, from feeling indifferent to feeling deeply, deeply betrayed. Some believe that ghosting is inseparably intertwined with modern electronic communication, and the practice is a way to cope with the decision fatigue that can accompany dating. Others believe that ghosting is emotionally troubling given that it offers no sense of closure. I'm kind of more on the other sense where it really does give no sense of closure for the other person and maybe the person that's doing the ghosting. I have only ghosted somebody one time, to my knowledge. Okay, let's just put that out there in case somebody's watching and it's you ghosted me back. I don't know, okay? To my knowledge, I've only ghosted one person, and I was talking to him for one day, and you know what? I ignored him for a few days, and then he, messaged me again, and he's like, hey, it's a bummer, you could have at least said something instead of just ignoring me. And, even though it was for one day, I felt really, really guilty because, you know what, I should have. And I feel like ghosting is such an interesting topic because there are so many different opinions about it and why people do it and why people don't do it. I am a big believer that modern electronic communication has a huge, huge factor into ghosting and why it's so common nowadays. It's just so easy to, delete a message. It's so easy to delete a contact, but you can't really do that in real life, especially if you constantly run into them, you know them in real life, you're going to pass by them. Doing it over the phone is so much easier. And I feel like a lot of times people forget that there's another human on the other end of that. You know what I mean? Another human that has feelings, another human that has emotions, another person that has thoughts. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think about that a lot. And I am a big believer in treat people how you want to be treated. And knowing good and well that I hate being ignored, I'm not going to go and do it to somebody else. But that's just me. I came up with this topic, or I was thinking of this topic over the last couple of weeks. And the whole reason it got brought up was because in my club that I'm in at school, the Student Psychology Association, am I supposed to say that? Psychology Student Association? Whatever. Anyways, I'm a part of a psychology club at school, and one of our group body meetings was over, I think it was a Valentine's Day meeting. And we do a game where you stand up if you agree, you sit down if you don't agree. And one of the questions was, is ghosting somebody justified? And I would say about 60% of the class stood up saying it is justified, and the other 40% sat down. And I was sitting down. And I found it really interesting on the varying different opinions. Someone who agreed that ghosting is justified says, well, I don't really owe them anything, especially if I've only been talking to them for a couple of weeks. And somebody on the other end that was sitting down like me said something along the lines of, well, I mean, it's just like, it just feels like the right thing to do to just simply let somebody know that you're done talking. Like, all it is just one message, and it's really not that hard to do. Someone else was like, well, similar to the first person, they were like, I don't really owe them anything, and like if we were only talking for like a day or a couple of weeks, then it shouldn't matter that much. And that's just how it is nowadays. And of course, I agree more with the side that was sitting down, but I was very, very fascinated on the way people thought about this topic, because it is so varying, and people choose what they choose to do. People do what they do for a reason. Is it justified? Is it justified? Psychology Today presented an idea that I did not even think of, and it never came across my mind, but they say that many cultures promote the idea of a soulmate or destiny beliefs, as evident in the classic Hollywood rom-com. Seeking the one and only partner for life is a fixated idea on how relationships should work, and it gives people the license to disappear from the face of the earth when a relationship is not up to their ideal. When a person does something for true love and what is their destiny, then it's okay to leave. I completely understand this. But my only argument is like, maybe this is for older individuals, because I feel like the dating scene now, especially for, most of us that are watching are in their 20s, I assume, like, it is so messed up. Like, a lot of people don't take things seriously. A lot of people out here aren't looking for their soulmate. They're just kind of looking around. And you know what? I'm not here to say if that's right or wrong, or to be like, you can't do that, la la la. I don't care what y'all do, okay? I have always seen relationships as something kind of serious, but also they don't have to be so serious. Like, if you're looking for something short term, that's your business. But I feel like this could maybe apply to like people who are a little bit older that are dating. Maybe. But yeah, it can be easy to put such high expectations on somebody. It can be easy to put such high expectations on somebody, and the second that they don't fit that criteria or what you're wanting, just to fall off the face of the earth. I can definitely understand this idea. But I guess from what I've seen from my friendships and I guess my peers around me, that's just not what it seems like. But I did find that really interesting. So my opinion, is ghosting justified? In my opinion, I think it can be for some situations, but overall, no. I think in the situations where somebody's being like really creepy and making you uncomfortable, yeah, you don't really owe them an explanation. Especially if you made it clear that they're making you uncomfortable, then yeah, like you're not obligated to talk to them. But I think in any other case where it's like, for example, say I'm talking to somebody and, I'm talking to them for a couple weeks over text, and it's just not, I'm just not feeling it. It is so, in my head, it just seems so simple to send one message that's like, hey, look, I really appreciated, your time and us getting to know each other a little bit, but I'm not really feeling this. So I think it's best that we stop talking. Like, that, in my head, is just such a simple thing to say, and it doesn't leave any questions up in the air for both me or the other person, because like, even though I send a message that's like, something like that, it can hurt the other person a little bit. But most people that at least I've seen prefer an explanation over just complete silence. I think humans are, they love answers. I know I love answers, but it's, a lot of humans can harp on the fact that they don't have the answers to everything, and something like that, you can argue, well, it's so easy to get the answer. Like, it would have been so easy if they had just told me that they were done talking. You know what I mean? So, I find that really interesting. So some of my friends' answers, they all pretty much said that it depends. One friend said that it just depends on the level of contact. So, like, if y'all were talking for a little bit, but you only hit each other up once a month, okay, maybe it's not a big deal if y'all just completely stop talking. I don't know. Two of my other friends said, depends on what the situation is, and Michelle, she wanted me to say her name. So Michelle said that it just depends on the situation, especially when they're being really, really creepy or making you uncomfortable, then yeah, you don't really owe them an explanation. Hey, I'm gonna stop talking to you. You're really freaking me out. Like, no one's really gonna say that, you know? But yeah, other than that, me and my friends, we seem to be pretty much on the same page with that. And one other friend says, I guess, like, maybe it is justified or not justified in some situations, depending on the level of contact, but it would have been nice to hear back sometimes, which I understand. Kind of like I said before, I feel like it's very human to want answers and kind of have conclusions for mostly everything, or as much as we're capable of having, but that's not always the case. So let's just get into the questions that I asked some of my friends. So I asked, first question is, are you one to ghost people often, or are you the one getting ghosted? One friend said both, like he's one to ghost and he's one to get ghosted. Not for close friends or family, though, which makes a lot of sense because that would be ridiculous a little bit. Mainly for romantic relations when the vibe is just not it, which makes sense. He said getting ghosted does not bother him as much anymore like it did when he was younger, which makes complete sense. Like, it's just going to happen, and that's one thing that I had to learn pretty quick in life is that sometimes you're going to get answers and sometimes you don't, and let the silence be your answer. Another friend says, I don't ghost people, I just let people exit out of my life when they don't like when I'm doing me. That's what he said, which it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes people will just leave with no answer. And honestly, I think it's really crappy to do to friends personally because, you have a connection with them, ideally probably for a while, and leaving with no explanation is just very strange to me. Friendships are such a strong bond that is different in a relationship, I feel. Again, I don't know, but I'd imagine. So I think that's I don't know, I think it's strange just to ghost friends. Like, romantic relationships, that's obviously very, very common for ghosting, but for friends and family, like, it's a little strange. Next, I said, why do you think ghosting somebody has become such common nowadays? One friend said social media has a big impact on the way we communicate, and we have a lot of options for people to talk to, assuming like we're talking about like romantic relations, through the phone. And this was so true. I was learning this in social psychology a few weeks ago when we went over our love and dating lecture, which was by far my favorite ever. But we were talking about online dating and how seemingly simple it was, back in the day to be with somebody that, was in your hometown. Which does seem easy, they're like right there. Or somebody that's in your like your area, your location. Like it was a lot easier just to meet somebody there rather than, because now over the phone, through dating apps, through Tinder, through Hinge, through Bumble, we can, set our location to literally anywhere in the world. And if we meet up with somebody, like, sometimes that, sometimes it makes a beautiful love story. And, a lot of times it also makes it really, really complicated. So, yeah, I didn't even think about that either until he brought this up, but that is such a good point. Like, we have a lot of options through the phone, so maybe it doesn't seem as serious because we do have so many options, Another friend said, just to shorten the response, to the response, he said something along the lines of, like, I blame social media for that. People are babies now, and they just don't want to communicate and be kind of, like, secluded and shy, which makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I am a big believer that technology and social media has played an enormous role in the way we communicate today, obviously. We have texting, we have phone calls. We don't have to see people face to face anymore if we want to talk. We don't have to send letters anymore. We can just send them a text. We can send them an email. You know what I mean? And kind of like how I was saying before, I feel like because it's so easy to do it and because it is through a screen rather than face to face, we can sometimes forget that the other people on the end or on the other, receiving end of the phone is a human. And yeah, they do have feelings. They do have thoughts, and they have their own lives where they're dealing with their own things. And I feel like that's just so easy to forget. I've caught myself like a couple years back forgetting that with like I don't know. It's very easy to forget, especially when it's all we do is stare at the screen. So I thought that was a really cool point that was brought up. The last question I asked was, why do you think people avoid communicating that they no longer want to speak? And my friend said issues with being like avoidant, and having like maybe an avoidant attachment style. And also some people, they don't deal with confrontation very well. And I like that he brought this up. It got me really thinking. He said it's good to think about why maybe you don't want to confront somebody. Is it going to make a situation spiral if you confront them? Is it, I don't know, a lot of drama for you? Does it give you a lot of anxiety? I don't know. There's a lot of different factors that can go into that. So that is a good point. I never thought about that because I've always just been so, I feel like when it comes to this specific situation, I have always been pretty clear when I am done talking. Usually it's not me that's like, hey, I don't want to talk anymore. But like, I have always seen it as something that's so supposed to be so easy. But clearly it's not for some people that struggle with confrontation. And for a while I did struggle with confrontation, but confrontation in different situations, not this, if that makes sense. And with the being avoidant, I think that's a very good point, and that I also didn't think about. There was this one guy I was talking to back in, I think we started talking in like October of last year. Real avoidant attachment style. And, essentially, we're not going to get too much into it, but let's just say things were great in the beginning. It flatlined at the very end. Very much a love bomber and ghoster. But like the avoidant attachment style was very clear to me towards the very end. And I could never understand it. Like I understand like the traits of somebody with an avoidant personality type, but when I gave, him options to let me know what was up or give him options to confront the situation that I wanted to talk about, he just wouldn't take it. And I was so frustrated as to why. I'm like, well, why not take this opportunity to let me know what's going on or to cut this off? I even asked the guy like a couple times, like, hey, if you wanted to cut things off of me, you would just do it, right? Like, don't just keep me waiting. And he was like, oh yeah, I totally will. Oh, okay. Please. I don't know. It's kind of funny now, but yeah, I think technology has such a huge role into it, especially dating apps. Kind of like I said before, we have so many options. So many options. And if like one doesn't work out, it's like, okay, big whoop. Let's go to the next one. And it's easy just to, I don't know. Ghosting is a very interesting topic to me because even though I have done it like once, maybe twice that if I'm not aware, I've always been one to kind of question why it happens to begin with. But I don't know. Honestly, I think when I get my PsyD or my PhD, I haven't decided yet. I also have not applied to grad school yet. But I'm only a junior right now. But I will be a senior this upcoming fall. And when I start getting ready for grad school and stuff, I think I want to do research, which is crazy. Because before, like if you told me, 2 months ago, if I heard myself say that, I'd be sick. But like, I am kind of interested in research and maybe like modern dating because it really does fascinate me. And it's so crazy that like there's not much research on this yet. But I feel like there's not much research on it because it is so like the topic of ghosting can vary from like one end to the other. There's no like set in stone variables. There's no set in stone measurements. Like it's really hard to determine that. But I don't know. I'm pretty interested in research, and like how I was talking last week, I think I'm really interested in marriage and family counseling, family therapy, family psychology. I just gave 3 different options. Okay, I'm more interested in child, family, and marriage psychology as of right now. And I think honestly, if I got the opportunity, and if I don't, I could just be talking right now. I could just be talking, but if I got the opportunity to work in like a research lab, I would want to do it over relationships and love and stuff like that because I think it would be really, really cool. I know the psychology of love has really, really fascinated me for the longest time ever. I remember being in like high school before I knew I wanted to pursue psychology, watching like Psych to Go and about, the psychology behind love and how like, 6 psychological signs that tell you that he likes you and stuff like that. Not because I was like actively looking for that in the guys that I liked back in high school, but like Um, it just fascinated me that like people's behaviors and actions and words and thoughts and feelings, that's all mental, you know? I don't know, it's really cool. I love it so much. So, in conclusion, personally, I have some thoughts about this. I've always claimed, please don't get your feelings hurt, okay? I say this out of love, but I feel like ghosting people, especially if, you know, you are kind of getting up, I don't want to say getting up there in age because 20 is not old, but like, to me, ghosting somebody is very much like high school, middle school behavior. And, you know, we did talk about all the factors today, so my opinion has changed on this, but for a very long time, I just considered, like, ghosting somebody at this age, like 20s and up, is very, very immature. And I am really big on communication, and, you know, if you got a problem, what's up, you know? Let somebody know. If something's not working for you, let somebody know. If you don't feel valued, let somebody know. If this isn't working for you, let somebody know. And by somebody, I mean the person you have an issue with or the person you need to talk with. So much can be avoided if we just talked. And I have a hard time understanding that some people, it just doesn't come that easy for them. And yeah, I used to say it was really immature to do that, but I've learned through this process and like asking other friends that, hey, maybe it's not as black and white as I made it seem. This is funny because like I feel like my other episodes where we talk about different topics, there's some sort of conclusion and I like give advice on it. But there is no advice. This is just something now that's within common, you know, phone and technological communication. Technological? Was that sounded fancy when I said that. Technological communication. No, whatever. Technology and the way we talk through phones and all that stuff. So, I don't know. It's really interesting. I don't know. I hope this gets you guys thinking about like the way you communicate online and through your phones and whatnot, and yeah, cool stuff. I don't know how to close this out because I usually always give like advice and like talk, but that's pretty much all I have for today. I loved exploring different opinions and ideas from my friends. So for my friends watching, thank you so much for answering my questions over this. I really, really do appreciate it. And it was very refreshing to hear different perspectives. Even if they weren't that far off, it's nice to get some thoughts from other people. So thanks for watching. Come back next week and so we can have some more fun and talk about whatever it is I decide to talk about because this is brain vomit. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thanks to you guys so much for watching and have a good week. I'll catch you later. Bye.